I mean, we've talked about this many times. RVs are essentially very stupid. Regarding investment, it's a stupid investment. Hey guys, Izzy and MJ from Endless RVing. Now, if you watch our channel, you know we do RV tours all the time and we throw out what's our next RV. A lot of the times in the comments, they're really interested on what is going to be our next RV.
So in today's video, we are going to break it down into 5 choices that we are seriously considering for our next coach.
This video is sponsored by Liquid Spring. If you are looking for the very best suspension upgrade for your Class A, C, or Super C motorhome, look no further than Liquid Spring.
We test drove a coach with the Liquid Spring system at the Tampa RV Super Show. It was mind-blowing. So we have partnered up with Liquid Spring to bring you, the viewers, up to $750 off a new installation of the Liquid Spring system. You just need to use the code RIDEENDLESSLY.
So if you want to set up an appointment or you just have any questions, contact Liquid Spring. Their information will be below. And again, if you are looking for the very best suspension upgrade for your RV, look no further than Liquid Spring. Okay, so we are pretty like 99.9% confident that our next, it's going to be a motorhome, will be used for a variety of different reasons. The only way that'll change, if there's some kind of RV manufacturer that watches us, and we know some do watch, if you want to give us a motorhome to demo, we will do that. We'll take a new one that way. But if we're paying for it, it's going to be used.
Let's link above too. We're going to put a video that we did on new versus used and kind of give you an idea of why we're really leaning towards used. So we're going to break this down, like we said, into 5 sections. All right, 5 coaches that we're considering. We have notes here, so I want to read them. I don't want to forget anything. Now, along the way, as you're watching this, I want you to think, what would you see us in? What would we look best in, thrive in, be happiest in?
Well, I think we've been pretty consistent and we haven't been too varied in what we like.
No, I think people kind of know. All right, so number 1 would be a used Super C. We're looking
a real Super C.
Really looking
not to
at
offend anyone.
A show hauler or a Renegade. We're gonna link above a video we did on Super Cs, and that was an interesting video.
Now, I just want to chime in on the show hauler. Now, if you may or may not know, we actually went out to the show hauler manufacturing facility out there in Middlebury, Indiana, and it is impressive. Those things are the real deal. They're built like tanks. We took over 2 hours of video to later find out we had no audio. So we couldn't do a video on that, but we will run some B-roll so you can see what we're talking about. I mean, steel welded, we like it a lot.
Right, and when you look at the quality, and just the factory, when the show haulers were being produced, the difference in how the factory is run versus a high-paced production coach facility.
So we'll keep it simple. So they put out 25 units a year. They had 1 person welding the whole steel cage. They had 1 person doing the roof, 2 people doing the electrical. They run the electrical through conduit. I mean, it's just done. It's a lifetime. It's going to last you a lifetime.
So again, you're not getting that production pumped out.
Correct.
So here's some reasons that we really like. Number 1 is the safety reasons. We talked about this before. Super Cs, love the safety factor of it. Go ahead, smash me in the front in that over a Class A any day. Towing and carrying capacity, God knows what we're going to be towing when we, Yeah,
the payload capacity is huge.
Yeah, so that's really attractive to us.
Big tanks too. They have big water tanks and big holding tanks.
Right. Serviceability is another one. Again, stop at a truck stop, God forbid something happens when you're out there, it's way easier to get that Super C service than a Class A. It's made for high mileage and to last, right? To go a long time.
So the kind of Super C we would be looking at would be on a true commercial grade chassis, a true Class 7 or Class 8 chassis. So again, they're made to be hauling 24/7, 365, a million miles, half-life. So that's, something that's really would last us essentially a lifetime.
Right. And then the last reason for a Super C is they just look badass. They just look good. You see that thing coming behind you, you're gonna move on.
And they drive really well.
They do. We test drove a Renegade, and it was smooth, and it was not as loud as we had thought.
Quieter than our Baystar.
Right. So that is definitely up there.
The one drawback, well, actually 2 drawbacks that pose back a little is two things. You lose a lot of space up front, right? So even if you had a 45-foot Super C, you're not going to have as much interior space as a 45-foot Class A just because you have that huge, front end. The second thing is the bays. There is storage. It's not like a Class A. Even on the big, they have like maybe one pass through, but it's not the same. So advantages and disadvantages.
Right, but we're also looking at our lifestyle now when we do retire in 4.5 years, is that we are going to have a sticks and bricks. When we had originally talked about what are we gonna get, we were talking about full timing. So we needed as much space, as much bay, storage space as possible. Now we can kind of be a little bit more flexible with that because we aren't going to be full time.
I'm a big fan of the Super C. I really am. Blacked out wheels, I would love that thing. So that's our first one. And this is in no particular order.
Right.
But that's, if you followed our channel, we are big fans of Super Cs. Okay, number 2, and I really like these also. So it's gonna be convincing because some of these things are dated, and I have to convince MJ that they can be upgraded. But older...
You would want it upgraded too.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
An older Class A, but I'm talking like a high-end Class A, so a country coach, or an older Beaver, or an older Monaco before Rev Group. So you're talking...
Or a Wonder Lodge.
The Wonder Lodge I've been reading, apparently you can't get parts for them.
Well, that's the problem, is they're not here anymore.
So in the comments below, if you own a Wonder Lodge, let us know, because I've been reading the parts are near impossible to get. But these coaches, they have the, at least we'll talk about the country coach, steel welded, semi-monocoque chassis. They were so far ahead of the time. We're talking like, mid 2000s to late 2000s. That's something that we'll be looking at, like before 2010.
The Magna, the country coach Magna.
Or the Allure, or any of those.
Yeah. We were talking about, the construction. They're made to go long miles. If you read reviews about people that have country coaches, you don't read a lot of bad reviews. I read somebody said, it tows without knowing you're towing anything. That's really good. And again, so you have that massive towing capacity, a really smooth, quiet drive.
Yeah, and if you want to know a lot more about these RVs, we're going to link RVing with Andrew Steele, because he's always covering these things. And that's, fortunately, unfortunately, that's how we got into this so much, right? So a lot of these are out on the West Coast. There are some down in the, down in the Florida area, but yeah, they're really nice.
Yeah, tons of storage, and something that you had mentioned before when we were talking about it too is that, the steel between you.
Steel firewall.
Yeah.
So like our coach now, and a lot of these production coaches, what's separating you from whatever you're hitting is a fiberglass cap, and fiberglass doesn't do well in frontal collisions.
Right.
At least you have a steel firewall and a nice steel semi-monocoque chassis to help protect you a bit. And I've read some things that people have had accidents with these things and they're okay. So that's definitely a big thing to talk about. The other thing I've seen in these bays is, all the wiring is neat. They were just so far ahead from where they were. You're talking these were, $700,000, $800,000 coaches back in 2007. So they'd be well into the millions now.
Right, and now you can get one in 2008, for example, in the 200s.
Early, low 200s.
And, which, what are you getting new for that? I mean, at the quality level of this, right? And so what? We've kind of taken ourselves to understand that, okay, we're going to have to change things. We'll upgrade the furniture, the cabinets, whatever, but again, it's that frame, that construction, you're not getting that today.
You would have to really step up to a Newell or a Prevost, or I don't even know, Ford Travel, maybe Ford Travel, put in the comments below, but you really have to step up high end, like super high end, over $1 million, which is just absurd at that point for us.
Right. Number 3 would be a used, of course, older production Class A. So something like a Dutch Star. We really like the Dutch Stars, or an Integra Anthem. Again,
Travel Supreme, maybe. Like an old Travel Supreme.
These are kind of, I think, lower on our list because, again, you have to go back further. I would definitely not get something made anytime recently, and pre-DEF, right? So what is
before
it,
2010.
Okay,
10,
I was
really.
going to say 2008. But again, in terms of construction, we think to ourselves, how far do you go back to where it's good?
Well, the construction's the same in the Newmars. It's still aluminum, frame. You're not going to get the steel welded
right? But in
those
terms,
coaches.
think about it. Like in terms of, think about, would you buy a coach from the last year or two with how they've been pumped
not
out?
Not with the price either. The prices are insane.
Yeah, so they're high. But again, we love the look of the Class A. Look, we have one. We absolutely love it. Newmar, Integra, Tiffin, they put out beautiful coaches.
They make a great coach. Yeah, the older coaches they're out on the road, so you can get a really good deal on a 2010, Essex or Dutch Star or whatever it may be. You can get a good deal. They're out there, and you can get a really nice coach, especially somebody took care of it for, far less than what you would pay for a new gas coach at this point.
Right. And again, though, but you're talking about safety, right? Out of all the ones that we're discussing, these are probably the least safe.
So number 4, it's going to be really your high end, like a used Newell or used Prevost coach. Now there's advantages and disadvantages to these. The Prevost, they are a commercial bus chassis. We've talked about this. We'll link a video above, the difference between like a custom bus coach versus a production coach. They are made to go millions of miles. With that being said, there's huge maintenance associated with these things, and they're quite expensive. So even a 15-year-old Prevost, you may be paying $400,000 to $500,000 for, which is a lot of money.
Right, and we like space, as many of you know. So if you're getting a used Prevost, a one-slide Prevost is not going to be cheap. And we've been, in these, and it's not super spacious. I'd rather spend a little bit less, and have more space than a quad slide used Prevost. You're still going to be paying pretty penny.
A lot of money. Here's the thing: it all depends on how much mileage you're putting. If you're putting down a lot of miles, 30,000 miles a year, 25,000, maybe a Prevost is the way to go because it's made to go. But I don't think we're going to be putting that kind of mileage on.
No, because we're not going to be full time. We're going to be most time.
If we put 15,000, that may be a lot.
Right.
Because our plan is to drive, stop for some time, then drive some more. Not just be not like a tour bus that's going every 10 days going somewhere else. Now we're talking about the Newell coaches. Again, beautiful coaches, very well made. They're custom made, custom chassis, very expensive to maintain. We have somebody we know who has an older Newell coach, and he told me he has about $70,000 in repairs that he has to do on his older. I think he has a 2002. And listen, these things, they're more complicated they are, the more expensive they are to fix. A lot of these coaches you just can't take to a regular RV place. They're not going to touch it. You're going to have to take it to somebody that deals with those kind of coaches. And most of the time, it's like when you have a Mercedes, right? If you take it to a specific Mercedes mechanic, most of the time, they're charging you more. Right.
Now, the thing with one of these, it'll last you probably until you're done RVing.
Yeah, as long as you maintain it.
Right. You take care of it. So it's definitely worth the money, but for us, we have to kind of see, is it worth the space?
Is it worth that much money?
Or can we get a used country coach and have a lot more space for way less money for still something that's really good quality?
Or use Super C.
Or use Super C, yeah, the other ones we mentioned. And number 5 is, do we keep little old Nellie and just save our money?
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about this many times. RVs are essentially, now we're just talking about from a financial investment standpoint, very stupid. There's no investment. You can't put a price on the experience, right? Because there's no price on that. We talked about many videos about that. But regarding investment, it's a stupid investment, right? Like if you took that money and you put it in real estate or you put it in stocks, you're going to do way better, way longer. So again, this is something that we think about all the time, depending on what our situation is and how much mileage we're putting on our motorhome. Maybe we'll keep Nellie. We don't know. Because, it's plenty of space now, and there'll probably be 2 people instead of 3 people, right?
Yeah, but then this is another thing. Look, Jason loves RVing. When he's in college in a few years, he's still going to want to come RVing with us. So that's like at the bottom of my list, keeping Nellie.
Well, Nellie is going to be with us for a little bit.
Yeah, our girl.
That's the number 5. Screw it. We just buy a nice house and keep Nellie.
Put in the comments below, what do you want to see us in next? We have a few years to search and shop, and if we do, unless we keep Nellie, what do you think we should get?
And for the RV OGs, the original gangsters of RV, right? The people have been doing this for 25, 30 years, that they've seen it all. Put it in the comments below. What do you think is the real bang for the buck, right? The value. A country coach, a Super C, a used Prevost. Put it in the comments below. And put it in the comments below, what would be your choice of coach if you had the choice? And for myself and MJ, we thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you on the road.